we need to start our music, and we need to begin this game. Alright, spawning here at the 12 o'clock position on Aztec will be none other than the Yellow Protoss. It'll be Payne's DKT, who has shown super adept play, not only in his games against Cryok in the round of 16, but also Lyra taking that game pretty convincingly. Build order was perfect, execution was perfect, everything was absolutely perfect by DKT. Couldn't ask for a better game here. And his opponent spawning at the 9 o'clock position will be the Red Zerg. MMX's Lyra. I don't know what MMX stands for. Chat, you could probably tell me if you know, the 20 people that are viewing. If that's not the case, then we're just going to call them the MMX clan, whatever, doesn't really matter. And Aztec is I would say, a fairly balanced map. I wouldn't say it's gladiator cross positions, but I'll have to look at the map. I'll have to judge. Okay, so looks like things are going pretty standard by, DKT right now. It looks like it's going to be standard Forge FE, unless that does commit to a Mighty Max, obviously, to Apocalypse. I didn't know that. I think that's potentially a troll move by Tupac, but I could be wrong. I don't know. And according to Gare Bear, Aztec is his Zerg favorite map. Now, I will have to see if I verify with that, but Zerg is going 9 pool of speed. So, I'm not really sure if we're going to see a macro game now, but if we were to go look at this map while the 9 pool of speed is coming up, excuse me that I'm on local record on reverse ramps, they're saying it's very difficult for Protoss to wall. I really wouldn't say this wall is super difficult, just from looking at the way, but you would definitely know. You would probably definitely need to know how to wall this off correctly before going in this game. This is not one of those. This is not kind of one of those areas where you can definitely just be like, you know what, I'm going to put a gateway, forge, and just kind of know where to put stuff. This would be a map that you would kind of want to test a wall off of against Zerg. So, in some ways, we could see a Ling bust, which might be the reason why Lyra is actually opting to go for a 9 pool of speed. As you can see, he's pretty much gone for the fastest, fastest links possible here. He may normally follow it up with an expansion off the natural, so he can macro back into this. Now, again, this is, I would say 9 pool of speed is pretty all in, but wow. Oh. For a second, I thought DKT just didn't make probes. For a second, I'm like, wait a minute. And now, again, that's not tight, though. That is not tight. He has full 4 probes pulled off the line here. I'm a little surprised that he knew about this, though, so quickly, which is very nice to know, because he must have had a probe in the base. So DKT hopefully will be able to defend this, at least if you're a Protoss fan, or a DKT fan. Double cannon, though, versus a 9 pool of speed, and it doesn't even look like it's going to be all in. So, what Gare Bear was saying in chat was saying, if a 12 Ling run by happens, you could double expand, and you'll be, set for life, as Zerg. Now, the only issue is, though, that a 12 Ling run by never happened, and I think it was because, DKT did opt to pull off the probes a little bit faster. He is opting to go for a 3rd cannon, playing it a little extra safe here, just in case if there was a, potential for just a quick tech switch back into Lings. It can happen. It is very annoying when that does happen. But it looks like it'll just be droning up for the time being here. Now, looking at the Harvesters here, DKT versus 13, 14, 15 Harvesters versus 13 in DKT's favor right there. So, it's starting to go back into I would say, a more moderately standard game. The 9 pool opening is definitely scary, but I'd say it's even more fair. Even if you just think in the early game when it's sub 5 minutes, sub 4:30, every worker is counted for. Don't get me wrong here. And also, you know, strengthening that point was that four probes have been pretty much idle for this entire time. So, in some way, economic damage was done to allow for these lings to do some kind of damage. I'm not going to say they killed off the probes or anything, but he did lose some mining time nonetheless. Now, does it affect this style of, this level of play? That's for you to decide, not for really me to decide. Again, I don't know DKT's rank, and I don't know Lyra's rank at all, so we'll have to find out how that plays out. And let's see, we do have the third base going up, so things are looking a little bit more standard at this time. We do have the layer going up. Now, Lyra did opt to go for Spire Tech last time, and DKT didn't opt to go Stargate Tech. So DKT is going to be switching up a little bit. Def is going for the Stargate Tech. Can supply block here. Now, theoretically speaking, his tech should be a little bit more delayed. Lyra should be. So, I guess what DKT's hoping for is that hopefully that 9 pool of speed will delay his tech more. Blah, 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 blah. End result is that I can get my Corsair out there faster before he can have any kind of anti-air / Scourge out. I can supply block him, do a lot of damage, then follow up with an expansion or 2 base all in. I think that's possibly what DKT is thinking at the moment. But that is only pure speculation at this point, and the Citadel is heavily delayed, I would say. I wouldn't really say DKT has like a super far lead. Again, I really don't know how to put this, because he put down like 2 cannons before Nexus was, and this blah 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 blah. I don't know. I don't really know what to say, because I just feel like the timings are equally delayed for both players. So I just don't think the Corsair are going to do any more damage than they would initially do. You know, I just don't think, just looking at those timings wise, it just didn't seem like it was going to do too much. But anyway, the Corsair is out, and something that I've always said, and I still continue to say it, especially with the Chinese players backing up my theory right here. I think if you're gonna get like a standard like 6-minute Corsair without like you're doing like a 4 FV and get a Stargate or a 1 base build, always send out your first Corsair. You can normally get 1 Overlord kill, then send it back, then get like 4 or 5 of them. So if there's a Muta Scourge build that's coming up your way, you have at least something to defend the anti-air for a while, so you can build up while you can get up your Storm, etc. They can help you defend if it's an issue for you. May not be the most optimal way, but because you're spending minerals and gas on extra Corsair that you may not need later on, but also putting in the fact that if you have those extra 4 or 5 Corsair, you can just go in the mid-game transition and be like, oh, I don't have, the Zerg's like, oh, I don't have to worry about Corsair anymore. Well, then they do, because then you have like 4 or 5 Corsair roaming all their far out bases and killing off fresh Overlords, and you supply block your opponent, and it can be annoying as Protoss. Or as Zerg, excuse me. Good for Protoss. And and 10-minute, 8-minute range. I would say that like range would come up like 8 minutes, 10 minutes. Not really between. Again, I'm looking at this from past experience of what players tend to get. 8-minute is seeming to be a little bit more of a norm than 10-minute timings that I've seen in the past. Does that mean it's completely meta? It's not my call to make. I do not play Protoss. I play random, like actual legit random. But I'm really bad, so when I play the game, more or less because my mechanics are absolutely god awful, but I do try to learn this game from the strategic point as best I possibly can. Now, we do have a Hydra, so both players aren't really doing what they did last game. So I wouldn't say these players are really doing their trademark builds if they've been known to do something in the past. I mean, we saw Lyra last game going like a Fungza-esque build, which would be Fungza-esque I'm just saying in my casting history. Now, it might not be anyone else's, but pretty much what I say is that you go Muta, Scourge, and ZVP, which not a lot of Zergs, lower tier Zergs tend to go. Now, these DTs, though, without any kind of Overlord speed, and I'll have you know, is heavily delayed. very heavily delayed, possibly because, you know, he wasn't worrying about any kind of the Corsair, you know, opening here. And oh man. Okay, finally the slow Overlord's gonna get in his way, but man, those things have a lot of set of range with their detection. And this base is going to go down unless these Hydras make a U-turn down to the south. Looks like they'll be exactly doing that, coming their way down here. But you know, the way I look at this, the sun goes down, target fire the hatchery, this base is done. Don't even bother with the drones. I think literally just, you know, attacking this hatchery is the best option right here. And watch how fast it goes down. They have +1, so they're even doing, you know, another +2 damage on that. Hatchery will go down, like I said, and you know what? For killing off maybe 1 or 2 drones and summing up a third base hatchery, things are kind of, you know, starting to repeat themselves from last game. When that third base goes down, especially when there's this Hydra timing that Lyra was, you know, optimally going for with +1. I'm not really sure if he's trying to hit with +1. Wasn't paying much attention to Lyra's build order. But put this in perspective here. Your timing is like, hey, I want to go. I'm just saying this is theoretical. I don't know if this is timing. Like, hey, I want to go hit my Protoss opponent by 10 minutes with +1 Hydralisk. Now he went back. He lost his third base trying to save it. And now he's 45 seconds, you know, a minute delayed with wherever he wanted to be. That's the kind of thing that DKT just did. Buys him time, buys him enough time to get up his base, and hopefully enough to defend. I mean, he has Templar. I think each one of them has like at least. I think he has at least like 4 or 5 storms. And with let's see how many Hydras. Nice storm going down in general. I just want to count the Hydralisk numbers right here. He does have 22 Hydralisk here. He's getting a nice concave. But the storms are just going to buy for time for more units to come out here. And these Hydras have taken some damage here with proper Zealot buffering. This should be good to go. And just, you know, fending off that push here. And, like, what can really be an issue with Protoss is with a Hydra bust, if you guys are new. With a Hydra bust is that a lot of the time it gets thwarted because... like, a Hydra bust in theory is great. It, like, you continue to rally units across off of 3 hatcheries, 5 hatcheries, what have you. So you just have so much you just outproduce your opponent. Like, if Storm's an issue, well, you just pump out more Hydralisks. And then you just try to break down your opponent. And that's happened before. But DKT has stalled for time, killed off a base that was a hatchery that should have been 3 Hydralisks being pumped out every single time. And from that point on, with that third base gone, he had to, you know... he delayed that push, he killed off the rest of the Hydralisks, and just kind of stopped that continuous repetition to come on. So, yeah, pretty much what I'm saying. So, I mean, he stalled enough time for this Hydra bust not to really do that much, is what I'm trying to say. Now, viewers, you can feel to disagree with me. I'm just trying to add my own analysis to this, is that I'm trying to figure out how this game is unraveling. Now, DKT, looking at it as purely as a supply, you know, a 13-minute ZVP, Protoss isn't at like 130, 150 supply issues where they normally are. It's been a fairly low, I don't want to call it a low econ game, but just generally a low supply game. I guess just because, you know, players have been fairly trading with each other. But, I mean, with the close proximity of these supply counts, I mean, what is there, like 15 supply? I mean, it's pretty close in terms of that. I think generally Zergs are a little farther behind in supply than Protoss at this stage. But we have a 4th base trying to be established for DKT, though. But I don't think DKT is going to have enough to defend this right now because he doesn't have Storm. Well, actually, no, I take that back. And we had something. We had a DT drop happening in the base. So, that is a 2-0. This was a best of 3, guys. So, that will conclude DKT versus Lyra. I apologize for not catching on to the fact that there was a DT drop. But, so pretty much what would have happened if he stayed in the game. Just to give you a little bit of perspective here. The DTs were doing so much damage in the main base of what it appears to be that it was getting very difficult. Lyra couldn't produce. He would have to spend defending. Protoss would have gone for 4th base. 4th base Protoss is absolutely godlike against Zerg, and you get those gas gas heavy units, or in this case a lot of zealots, because it would be a mineral only. But people of the universe on YouTube, Puka signing out, Fitz signing out, Walma, whatever the hell you want to call me, whatever my alias has become on the internet.